Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We'll begin on page 654, way at the end of the siddur, in the middle of the page. Erev Shel Shoshanim, an evening of roses. Erev Shel Shoshanim, Netzena el habustan, Mor besamim ulevona, Veraglech miktan. Erev Shel Shoshanim, Erev Shel Shoshanim, Netzena el habustan, Mor besamim ulevona, Veraglech miktan. Laila yored, Laila yored le'at, Beruach Shoshan noshva, Hava el chashlach shir balad, Zemer shel ahava, Shachar homa, Shachar homa yona, Roshech male tzlalim, Pichel aboker Shoshana, Ektafenu li. Turning back to page 142, Shalom Alechem, welcoming in the Sabbath angels. Shalom Alechem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem, Boachem leShalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Teitchem leShalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. As you may notice, it's just me on the Vima tonight. Rabbi Brown is leading our grade 8 and 9 students to Whistler for retreat this weekend. So they are spending Shabbat there. And of course, Rabbi Dan is still on sabbatical, though if anyone here, a few of you are joining our Israel trip with the Temple Sholom group that is going in about a week. That begins, and Rabbi Dan will be there as well. So I will be attending that, which I'm very excited for and grateful to be able to join the trip. Tonight, we, of course, are here to celebrate Shabbat, as we do every week. But we also hold in our hearts those who were killed, those who are injured, some still recovering in critical condition last Saturday night at the attack at the Lapu Lapu Festival. And as you may have seen, the BC government declared that today, Friday, is an official day of remembrance and mourning for the victims of this tragedy. The Jewish community has close ties with the Filipino community, and our hearts go out to them and all of those impacted by this terrible tragedy. So we'll be remembering them and thinking of those who are still recovering throughout the service. But first, we will light our Shabbos candles, and to lead us in a reading and then lighting the candles, I'd like to call up Harvey and Valerie Hammer. Yeah, come on up. You can start right here.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Amen. Go over to the candles and use the middle one to light the other two. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you. On page 130, you'll find the words to Psalm 95, Lechu Neranena. Let us come out and sing joyously together. Lechu Neranena Ladonai Nekad b'fanav v'todah b'zmirot nari alo yana lai 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 yana lai 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 yana lai lai yana lai lai lines from the bottom, page 131. Ya'alo sadai bechol asher bo ya'alo sadai. Ay, 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 ya'alo sadai bechol asher bo ya'alo sadai. Ay, 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 az yeranenu kol atzei. Az yeranenu kol atzei ya'alo sadai v'chol asher bo ya'alo sadai. Ay, 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 ya'alo sadai v'chol asher bo ya'alo sadai. Ay, 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 ay. Page 134. Zamru l'Adonai. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. Zameru, zamru l'Adonai. Zameru, 138 to continue with Lecha Dodi, welcoming in Shabbat, the bride. Oh, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Oh, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu elam yuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, Leshem u'tiferet v'litila. Oh, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Oh, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 3. Mikdash melech ir melucha, kumitei mitoch hafecha, rav lach shevet v'mekabacha, ve'lo yachamol alaich chemla. Oh, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Oh, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 5. Hitoreri, hitoreri, hivaorech kumi ori, uri uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai alaich nikla. Oh, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Oh, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 9. Stand and face the entrance. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam besimcha u'betzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, boi chala. Oh, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Oh, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. We'll stay standing and turn to page 263 for Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divrach erotei ve'anich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, bagala bagala u'v'zman kari ve'imeru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach, le'alam u'lal me'amaya. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitfa'ar ve'yitoman ve'yitnaseh ve'yitadar ve'yitale ve'yitalal, shmei dekodsha berichu le'elam min kol mechata ve'shirata, tush bechata ve'nechemata, damiran be'alma ve'imeru, amen. Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed. You may be seated. We'll continue reading Ma'ariv Aravim together on the next page. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בדברו מעריב ערבים, בחוכמה פותח שערים, ובתבונה משנה עיתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו. חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך, לעולם לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה באהבתך. אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. We'll turn to page 270 for Micha Mocha, our prayer of freedom, especially thinking about our celebrations of Yom HaAtzmaut, which of course was right after Yom HaZikaron this week, which we'll talk about later tonight. And thinking about what does it mean to be free in the world today. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele, malchutecha ra'u banecha, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כיבד אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, haboreh sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 272. Say the words of V'shamru together, sanctifying this time of Shabbat. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam. Yam b'dai-dai-dai, Shabbat, Shabbat, yam b'dai-dai-dai, Shabbat, Shabbat, yam b'dai-dai-dai, Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, ubayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Yam b'dai-dai-dai, Shabbat, Shabbat, yam b'dai-dai-dai, Shabbat, Shabbat, yam b'dai-dai-dai, Shabbat, 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 Shalom. We'll continue with the Amidah. On page 273, we'll rise. Adonai sfatai tiftach, Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi agid tehilatecha, ufi agid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Koneh Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, תומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך? מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ולמען אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. May be seated. We'll continue with Ritzeh on page 279. Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu לעמך ישראל ותפילתם באהבה תקבל ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל. ישראל עמך אל קרוב לכל קורב פני אל עבדיך וחוננו שפוך רוחך עלינו ותחזינה עינינו בשובך לציון. ברחמים ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון, לציון. So I was listening to the latest episode this week of the For Heaven's Sake podcast out of Sholom Hartman, Daniel Hartman, speaking with Yossi Klein Halevi. And they were talking about Yom HaAtzmaut, but specifically about how even in the worst of times throughout Jewish history and today, it's still important to have gratitude and be thankful for what we do have, the blessings that we do have in our lives. And I thought that was really powerful. And we have a reminder of that every service in our Hoda'ah prayer of thanksgiving. We'll continue with that on the bottom of page 280. It kind of jumps around in the lines. It starts 4 lines from the bottom, then the bottom line, then the next page. You'll catch on. ועל ניסך שבכל יום ערב ובוקר וצהריים מעולם קיווינו לך, מעולם קיווינו לך. הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך והמרחם כי לא תמו חסדיך. מעולם קיווינו לך, מעולם קיווינו לך. And as always, a prayer for peace. Shalom Rav on page 282. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata u melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata u melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. We'll take a moment for our own silent prayer. On page 651, turning again back to the end of the siddur. Wanted to sprinkle some Israeli music into our service tonight. This is a classic, Al Kol Eila. The chorus says, "Keep all of these safe, my good God, the honey and the sting, the bitter and the sweet. Do not uproot what has been planted. Do not forget the hope. Return me, and I will return to the good land." We'll just do the first verse in the chorus. Al hadvash ve'al ha'oketz, al hamar ve'hamator, al biteinu hatinoket shmor li hatov, al ha'esh ha'mevoeret, al hamayim hazakim, al ha'ish hashav habayta min hamechakim, al kol Al kol eile, shmor na li Eli atov, al hadvash ve'al ha'oketz, al hamar ve'hamator, al nata kol nata, al tishkach et hatikva, hashiveni ve'ashuva el haaretz hatova. We'll turn now to our prayers for healing, our Misha Berach prayer, which we won't do the one in the siddur. We'll do a different one because we're doing different music tonight, just for fun. And as we do, again, we are praying for healing for all of those injured in the attack last week, and for the Filipino community going through this time, and sending them our love and support. I wanted to share this reading before we read our names for the Misha Berach prayer. It's called "Bring Healing Power" by Alden Solovey. God, grant your healing power to all in need, those whom I know and those unknown to me. God, grant your comfort and consolation to all who grieve, to those whom I know and those unknown to me. Holy One, bring a swift end to suffering and strife, and heal the world with your steadfast love. I will read the names from our community's Misha Berach list, and then offer a moment if anyone would like to add names to the list as well. So we are praying for healing for Margaret Stewart, David Stewart, Raphael Ben Sarah, Hannah Bat Meir Avraham Veshero, Ken Morrison, Wendy Seelig, Vince Antonio, Avraham Ben Avraham, Terrence Lebinsky, Pnina, Razel, Barry Reedback, Barry Lynn Stanley, Yossi Shemesh, Yosefa Bat Chava V'Mordechai, Rosa Tesser Mabe, Sonia Ratke, Maury Dozer, Sherry Fiedler, Virginia Edwards, Natalie Wormelli, Claire Golumbia, Carla Zivot, Janet Gelb, and David Shlomo Gorney. If anyone has names that they would like to add as well, of those you are thinking about at this time. wanted to offer this prayer, which was actually written for the community at the Tree of Life Synagogue when it was attacked in 2018, but it's a beautiful prayer for healing as well. It's like this. Oh, sweet Spirit, hear my prayer. Help these words heal someone out there. I am but a voice, just a cry in the air, but I sing nonetheless in this pain we share. Oh, sweet friends, come and dry your eyes. Hold each other by this tree of life. I'm angry and tired of this great divide, but I sing nonetheless with love on our side. Oh, sweet souls who feel broken now, we'll heal together somewhere, somehow. Time and again we have been let down, but we sing nonetheless, still whole and still proud. Oh, sweet Spirit, hear my prayer. Help these words heal someone out there. And on your programs on the front, you'll find the words for Achenu, which we are still saying every week now, thinking about the hostages that still remain in Gaza and praying that they find their way home. Achenu, kol Beit Yisrael. Achenu, kol Beit Yisrael. הנתונים בצרה ובשביה, העומדים בין בים ובין ביבשה. המקום ירחם, ירחם עליהם ויוציאם מצרה לרווחה, ומייפלה לאורה, ומשיבון לגאולה השתה בגלה ובזמן קריב. אחינו כל בית ישראל, אחינו כל בית ישראל, הנתונים בצרה ובשביה, העומדים בין בים ובין ביבשה. That's the part where I usually sit down. I'll share some announcements of our upcoming events, of which there are many. So this week, upcoming week / next week, Tuesday, May 6th, we have our next Kibbutz and Cookies for Sholom Shishim with Bruce Howitt, again leading a conversation called Westward Ho, Part 2, Canada and the Jews from 1920 to 2025. So you can register for that online. Temple Shalom men are invited to join our men's circle on Tuesday, May 6th at 7 p.m. here at Temple Shalom. And of course, on Wednesday evening, if you haven't heard about it yet, we have our Kabbalat concert. It's happening in just a few days, where we're bringing in 7 cantors from across Canada, but mostly Toronto, to sing here together. Our sisterhood choir is going to be part of it. We're going to have students from our Temple Shalom religious school be part of it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and there was some question as to what kind of music happens at a cantorial concert, and I can tell you it is like Broadway style folk music. Like, think of the songs that I play on guitar and you're like, wow, must be written recently. But with piano, violin, and cello, and some drums. So it's going to be really fun music, as Gordon knows, because he's been hearing Joyce practicing. Joyce Cherry will be on the piano.
You can even hear gospel.
Yes, some gospel style.
150, yeah.
Check out Temple Happenings if you want to hear that. So we're going to have Joyce Cherry on piano, as well as Wendy Stewart and Victoria Smooth, and lots of people participating. It's going to be wonderful, and it's a fundraiser, so it's for a good cause. Hope you'll join us in person or virtually. Register online. Thursday, you can do something every day here. So Thursday, we have our next study with Yossi Klein Halevi, amazing scholar in residence, I think, still, at 7:30 p.m. That is only for Temple members. Young families are invited to a Yom HaAtzmaut themed family Shabbat on Friday, May 9th at 5:30 p.m. And if you are interested in taking the Taste of Judaism class with Rabbi Brown, that's going to begin on Thursday, May 15th, and continue for the next few weeks after that. It's free. So if you ever wanted to learn about Judaism, now's your chance. Tuesday, May 20th at 10 a.m. is the next Soup Shvesters meeting. You can find out more in the program. And the next Men's Club event is a trip to Bowen Island on Thursday, May 22nd, which sounds like fun. And finally, Temple Shalom school registration is now open. So if that is something that you are interested in looking at, please contact Jen Jaffe, our principal. Okay. A few words of Torah. So as I mentioned, this week we commemorated Yom HaZikaron and celebrated Yom HaAtzmaut, turning our mourning into dancing in our uniquely Jewish way. And next week, I'll be joining our Temple Shalom Israel trip, returning to Israel for the first time since 2017. I know it will be heartbreaking to witness the sights and the aftermath of October 7th, but I can't help but feel excited to walk the streets of Jerusalem and Tel Aviv again, see friends and family. This week's Torah portion is Tazria Mitzorah, a double portion that is infamous for its gory descriptions of skin diseases and detailed laws of quarantine for those who were infected, as well as for women after they gave birth and had to quarantine themselves or separate themselves. When a person had a skin rash, one of the priests had to decide whether or not that person should be pronounced tameh, impure, and sent to quarantine. Once the person had adequately recovered, the priest then declared them tahor, pure, and told them they could return to the community. But rather than focus on the medical details of the parasha, I want to look more broadly at the idea of boundaries. Leviticus lays out a society with very specific hierarchies and borders, delineating exactly when anyone is tahor, pure, or tameh, impure. Although we don't live by this strict code of ritual purity anymore, we do benefit from certain boundaries in our lives. Sometimes we need to separate ourselves from others, take a breath, and regain our composure. As therapists like to remind us, boundaries are important and beneficial to our mental health. In fact, Dr. Brené Brown teaches that boundaries are a prerequisite for compassion and empathy. One of the challenges in our world today is a lack of compassion and empathy, especially for those who disagree with us. Boundaries can actually help us hold on to that compassion because we know it's not hurting who we are. I've been thinking a lot recently about the benefits of boundaries when it comes to the topic of Israel. In the months after October 7th, it felt like wounds I never knew I had were being ripped open. It was like the world was a snow globe that someone had shaken up, and we were all off balance until the dust settled down. At first, I was in denial about how much October 7th had changed things here. I didn't want to believe that people I knew and loved could really support anti-Semitic ideas about Jews and Israel. How could friends who just months before spoke with me about the importance of Zionism and a Jewish state now all of a sudden question Israel's right to exist and want to cut all ties with the community? Surely, I thought, if I could only talk it out with those people, we could figure out our shared values and work through this, right? And I tried. I really tried. But honestly, it ended up hurting me more than helping me in the end. Although the conversations were calm and polite, they just led to more and more disagreements and the uncovering of hurtful underlying beliefs. I found myself feeling awful afterwards as I thought, do they really believe that? Do they really believe that about me? But now, a year and a half into the war, there's still so much turmoil and strife. There are still hostages, and the killing continues. The snow globe is still shaken up, and it's hard to see the light. But we are in a different place than we were a year ago. The hurt that was so raw this time last year has healed a bit, or at least we have acclimated to our new reality. More and more, I find myself appreciating boundaries. We've all had to deal with October 7th and its aftermath in our own ways. And I found that sometimes that means not engaging in discussions or confrontations that hurt us. Yes, there's a time for confrontation, but sometimes we have to quarantine ourselves emotionally so that we can heal and return to society stronger, more compassionate, and more whole. Perhaps the laws of Leviticus can teach us about the importance of taking time away from others until we're ready to come back. In the world of the temple cult detailed in Leviticus, boundaries are necessary to keep the Israelite society functioning. They lived by a strict code of law that kept them safe physically and emotionally. In our world today, it can be hard to disengage. We are glued to a constant feed of global news, political opinions, hot takes. We feel like we have to engage at all times, like the world is too fast-paced for us to take time away. But that fallacy only leads to more unproductive confrontations, anger, hate. Perhaps the lesson of our parasha is that we need that time away from each other to cool off, to gather our thoughts, and to engage in more compassionate, meaningful ways. It's not always easy. The Torah details many times where those afflicted with tzara'at would come back to the community, maybe seem fine, but possibly have to be quarantined again. It seemingly never ends. It takes practice and discernment to figure out when to remove yourself and take a break. We are Am Yisrael, and we owe it to each other to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of each other. With practice, we can be like the priests, the Kohanim, who were experienced at discerning who needed quarantine and when. When in doubt, remember that we have the opportunity to practice setting boundaries every week. Shabbat is a built-in time to rest, reflect, and heal. As the world continues to spin and headlines continue to grab our attention, I encourage you and even implore you not to be afraid to take time for yourself. When you return, you will have a greater ability to listen, empathize, and respond. Remember Dr. Brené Brown's words, boundaries are a prerequisite for compassion and empathy. Wishing you a Shabbat of rest and a Shabbat of peace. Shabbat Shalom. We'll continue with Aleinu. Nope, before Aleinu, we have one thing. Don't stand up yet. That is the Sfirat HaOmer, which is on page 570. Okay. This is our 7-week period between Pesach and Shavuot, where we count the days every day. You'll see what number we're on in a minute. Shem yichu u'shabrichu shchintei hineni muchan u'mezuman lekayem mitzvat aseh shesvirat ha'omer shesvirat ha'omer shesvirat ha'omer shesvirat Sheva Shabbatot temimot tihena Sheva Shabbatot temimot tihena Yaila laila yaila laila yaila laila laila yaila laila yaila laila yaila laila. That was the I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer part. Now we'll say the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav etzivanu asfirat haomer asfirat haomer asfirat haomer hayom 20 yom shem shnei shavuot v'shisha yamim lahaomer yaila laila yaila laila yaila laila laila yaila laila yaila laila yaila laila laila. Today is 20 days of the Omer, making 2 weeks and 6 days. Now, We will turn to Aleinu on page 586. Please rise. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום השבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. Reading before the mourner's Kaddish. Here we go. Ancient One, send light into this darkness and hope into this despair. Send music into this emptiness. Sorry. There's some music. I'll start over. It happens. Okay. Ancient One, send light into this darkness and hope into this despair. Send music into this emptiness and healing into this aching heart. Air. All I need is air. A breath to give oxygen to the anguish within. A breath to give voice to the howl in my heart. A breath to set me free. I am undone, crushed, silent by sorrow, bereft by loneliness and loss. Still yearning for healing, still yearning for love, still yearning for you. Ancient One, send light into this darkness and hope into this despair. Send music into this emptiness and healing into this aching heart. I'll start by sharing the names of those who were killed last Saturday night at the Lapu Lapu Festival. Jendel May Siko, Riza Azir Pagkan Lungan, Kira Salim, Richard Lay, Lynn Wong, Katie Lay, Maria Victoria Yarnison, Jen Darabale, Daniel Samper, Glitza Maria Sacedo, Glitza Daniela Samper. Our hearts are with their families and everyone who is in mourning. Our community is in Shloshim and some Shiva for the following people. Feel free to rise if your loved one's name is called. Sue Aft, Hamish Cameron, Arlene Chetner, Scott Kramer, Miriam Friedberg, Sean Corey Gutkin, Marlon Cott, Leo Levine, Jimmy Jamil Nabi. And our community observes these yahrzeit this week. Sam Abelson, Dave Adirim, Ken Ain, Samuel Angel, Solomon Bild, Bella Brenman, Albert Brody, Rufina Klar, George Xotti, Henry Davis, Isabel Edwards, Martin Freeman, Esther Froman, Nathan Godfrey, Isidore Goldstein, Lena Goldstein, Matthew P. Good, Saul Gutman, Cindy Haas, Becky Hapton, Henry Hister, Jan Eisen, Eric Jackson, Charlotte James, Eudice Kaplan, Gladys Corman, Estelle Levitt, Harold Mann, Mina Muchailova, Sam Muchnick, Reginald Myers, Janet Nerod, Dr. Howard Netter, Dr. Frederick Oberlander, George Edward Robbins, Susan Robertson, Kaya Rootman, Peter Anthony Ross, Laszlo Rostas, Bella Samuels, Judith Shapiro, Van Twombly, Henry Voth, Cam Wong, Erwin Winston, Avram Zilberstein. And if anyone has any other names of those you are remembering, Shloshim or Yahrzeit, you may rise and add their names now. Together as a community, we will all stand together. Page 598, join in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman karib ve'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה ברכו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן ועלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו amen. May their memories be for a blessing. We will now conclude our service with Kiddush and Motzi and our closing prayer, which I will have ready now. Anybody want to do Kiddush? No, I'll do it. Okay. Bringing it over here. Va'erev va'boker yom hashishi va'yechulu hashamayim v'aretz v'chol tzevam va'yechal Elohim b'yom hashvi'i melachto asher asa va'yishbot b'yom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa va'yavarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i va'yikadesh oto ki bo shavat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot savri. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho be'ava u'v'ratzon inchilanu zikaron le'maaseh bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת. מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. חיים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ. Amen. Okay. We're going to conclude with one more Israeli song, which is Bashana Haba'ah. It is in the siddur somewhere, but you can try. Bashana Haba'ah נשב על המרפסת ונספור ציפורים נודדות. ילדים בחופשה ישחקו תופסת בין הבית לבין השדות. עוד תראה, עוד תראה, עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. Of course, one more time. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. Shabbat Shalom. Please join us in the social hall for Oneg, and tomorrow morning we'll be back at 10 a.m.